Welcome to today's interview. I brought on Nate Bailey. Nate, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Give the listeners a little background. Where do you live and what do you do?
I live in just outside of Rochester, Minnesota, south of the Twin Cities, about an hour. And I'm a coach. I'm a speaker, podcaster, author. But really, everything that I do, my message and the impact that I make is working and helping entrepreneurs just, become champions and better people in their life, like getting them from where they currently are. Because I think we all want to continue to improve and get some into a little bit different place in life, is to help them to get to that place quicker. So yeah, that's what I do.
And entrepreneurship is definitely not for everyone. It's I
Yeah,
love the little picture, the memes I've seen, that entrepreneurship, what you think it's going to look like, and it's this really gorgeous, very straight line of going right uphill to your end result. And then it's like what entrepreneurship actually is, and it's like this zigzag, all these swirls and circles and ups and downs, and yeah, that's what it's really like.
totally. Yeah, it's like just a big storm, right? It's just it's not easy, and that's why a lot of entrepreneurs only last a short amount of time, and then they go back to doing something else, right?
Well, and
So
whether
we can all
you're
use.
Yeah, whether
Okay.
you're an entrepreneur or other areas of life, it's still, I think, some of the same tactics to not give up when things get hard, to persevere. So, what would your message be? I mean, kind of more generally, to when you come up against roadblocks, what do you do?
Yeah, I would just I I like to remind people that especially for me, I think I got to this place, or maybe I had this thought that, like, the point of life is to get to a place where you don't have roadblocks anymore, right? But the reality is that, like, we're guaranteed to have roadblocks. The roadblocks are going to happen, and so when you can shift your perspective to be like, I expect them to happen, and if I equip myself with the mindset and the skill set and the tool sets in preparation for, like, I know they're coming. I'm kind of like keeping an eye out for it. So then when I see it, I'm like, hey, it's no big deal. I'm prepared for this. This is just like we were talking offline, where you ran a marathon and you did the work and you put the time in and the training in. So when it came time to run the race, like, you were ready. And so that's kind of the same thing. Like, roadblocks are going to happen, like, 100%. And so I think if we can make that shift to be like, I just want to avoid the roadblocks, it's impossible. So quit trying to avoid them and just
Mm.
be prepared for them, so that when they do come, it's just kind of like a little bump in the road instead of like a massive catastrophe.
Yeah, it's like a pebble, not a boulder.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what are your suggestions, or what do you personally do to strengthen the mindset, the skill set, and whatever else in order to get around, through, or over these?
Yeah. One of the big concepts that I like to talk about, I wrote a book, and this is a big part of it. And then I did a podcast. I did 100 episodes on this, called The Integrity Bank. And so the Integrity Bank to me is, becoming a person of your word. So what does that mean? Like, if you say you're going to get up in the morning at 5 a.m. to go work out, right? You actually get up and you go work out. And it starts with you, because many people say that they're going to do that, and they continue and they don't wake up, they hit the snooze. And this pattern goes on for years and years and years. Imagine how that feels, to continue to let yourself down, to essentially, it's like a small failure to start the day every single day for a long period of time, because you just can't get yourself to do it. And you're like, tomorrow I'll do it. But no one knows, because you haven't really shared it with anybody. So the biggest person that you need to be your word to first is yourself. And so start with the small things that you can easily know that you can do, like, like you said, whether it's even taking the garbage out and taking it to all the way to the trash, or when you finish with your dishes, like, put them in the dishwasher right away and don't let them pile up on the counter. Just the little things that are really simple but add up over time. And then as you continue to do that and be your word, you're making a deposit every single day into your integrity bank, and the balance starts to grow. Most people try and take deposits from their integrity bank every day, and, well, there's no money there. And so you're insufficient, and that other people see that, right? It's just like, other people pick up on that and feed that, and they know whether you're a person of your word or you're not. And it's so much more powerful. The relationships are so much more richer. The results in your life begin to compile and compound when you are a person of your word. And it really does start with those little things, but you have to start by doing that yourself to yourself. And then once you do that, then you can start to be your word to others. Like, and it's really is a life changing thing. And the mindset that comes as a process of that is incredible. And that's going to allow you to smash the boulder into a million pebbles if you need to. Right.
Yeah. Well, even for example, going through this whole pandemic, I believe my years, and I'm talking years of personal development. I've been into this stuff since I was 15. I'm currently 35, so do the math. But I love this stuff. And thank goodness I had all this background and the Tony Robbins experiences and the other seminars. And I love Robin Sharma. But I believe without those years of experience and implementation and creating better habits, I would have been wrecked through this pandemic. So many people, and so many people are like, they feel that it's so traumatic and they've lost total control. And instead it was like, okay, focus on what you can control. And this is a great example to focus on your word. And it is building those small blocks, because I love the quote that, like, you snooze, you lose. But you're right.
Yeah.
You're going to start your day every day. Just the second you hit that button, you've already defeated yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, start from where you're at. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, who you have been in the past, wins or losses, doesn't define who you are right now. Like, we constantly have to kind of prove ourselves every day. So you're only as good as your last minute. That's a powerful lesson that I learned in an experience that I did a few years ago. And it's so true. So don't worry about what has happened in the past. Like, you can start today. If you haven't been your word to yourself and to others for years or decades, it's okay. Like, you can take the stand today. And again, just take those little steps. And you try and make the gap between the time that you weren't your word and the next time that you weren't your word. Like, you just try and make that gap bigger and bigger. And there will be days when, you can't be your word. And the most powerful thing to that, though, really is, like, when you can't be your word, like if you told somebody you're going to be somewhere, or you're going to call them, or you're going to do something, like, honor your word by calling them right then and there, like the second and just let them know, hey, I said I was going to be here, or do this or do that. I can't, you don't have to explain it. Just let them know, hey, I'm not going to be able to do it. Could we create a new agreement? Like, could I do it by this day and this time instead? And people, and then just don't make that a daily habit, right? Don't be having to honor your word every day, but when you know that you can't on those days, you make a little withdrawal, but you let them know right away, and people will respect you for that. Because what happens typically, we feel bad if we can't, and then we make it worse by not letting them know right away, and then it just snowballs into something else. So,
For sure.
So important.
Well, I think, and what you touched on is, I think of each day as a blank slate. So rather than take yesterday's problems or issues or lack of follow through into today, you can actually start each moment as a new moment. But at least
Yeah.
each day, I think of it literally as like a whiteboard, and it is clean. There is no marks all over it. So today, it's like, what can I do today? And
Yep.
I think it's my neighbor who told me this. He's like, if you could just be 1% better every single day, the compound effect of that is huge.
You have a wise neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good mentor. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
Awesome.
the question for you, I know you have a military background. Did you learn some of this going through that?
Yeah, I would say so. I would definitely say, I tried to learn from all my experiences, right? And so there are things that you learn through the military. It's definitely, you have to be disciplined. They make you be disciplined. They make you do certain things. Get up when you don't want to. You kind of really don't have a choice. And then over time, that kind of can become a part of who you are. And so yeah, it's definitely. And then as you get away from the military, sometimes if you're not careful or intentional, then some of those things can begin to slip away. But it definitely is always there, and something that I can draw on, and it's definitely something that I've taken to help me in who I am as a person, as a coach, as a leader, to become a better person, and also help others to be better as well.
Can we touch on this whole being intentional? Because I think that is a very strong and powerful word that isn't used as frequently.
Yeah, I like to say, quit being casual in your life and be like super detailed and intentional, like detailed, specific, and intentional, meaning like don't wing it. Quit winging your life. Why would it's your life we're talking about, right? Why would you be casual with your life, with your health, with your finances, with your relationships, spirituality, like whatever's important to you? Why would you be casual when like there are no guarantees? Unfortunately, I have had some personal experiences to show me that in a very real way, that like life can be over in an instant. And so knowing that, that we have no idea when our time's up, why would we not be super intentional in who we are, in the relationships that we have, in the words that we use, right? Because words can hurt and be taken out of perspective, and our powerful form, and how we communicate, and our actions and how we take care of our body, like all of those things communicate to others who we are as a person. And people love it and are attracted to people that are disciplined and super intentional, like have this presence about them that makes you want to kind of be around them and just like learn what they're doing and how they live, so that they can model themselves after it.
Can you share with me, like, kind of walk us through what are your routines like? How are you intentional? How do you be your word?
Yeah, it's well, as a coach, first and foremost, it's, I feel a huge responsibility to live what I'm going to teach someone else at the highest standard. So I want to be doing things like, running 100 miles or whatever, so that when I'm pushing my people to do something physically hard, like I know that I'm willing to do the same thing times 10 than I would ask anyone else to do. But yeah, as far as rituals, routines, I mean, I work out every day. I meditate every day. I'm intentional in my day as far as planning and scheduling and looking at what's ahead of me. And if it's in my calendar, like I'm going to do it again, because it comes down to being your word. And the second you make that decision and you start to live that, like every day that builds up, those deposits are made, like the harder it is to go backwards from that, right? Because it just becomes a part of who you are. So those are all things that I do. I invest in my relationships and people that are important to me by sending messages out. Like I would have the thought to reach out to somebody in the past, and I wouldn't do it, right? And then it would happen again, and then you could go months without actually just sending a text message or picking up the phone and calling. And now when I have those thoughts, I just do that every day, because I'm in the habit of intentionally reaching out to people that I care about every single day. So those are all part of my routines. I'm always going to work out. I'm always going to meditate. I'm always going to spend time with and message and communicate with people that are important to me. I do a pretty good job of inside of my nutrition. I'm not going to say that I don't have a piece of pizza or eat some ice cream every now and then, or have a beer or a scotch or something like that. But I do take care of my body, because I know that like it's the only one I have, and in order to run 100 miles or do some of those other things too, it behooves you to take care of yourself. So yeah, I study every day. I'll read something or listen to something every day, and I have an email list, so I'm either emailing or podcasting. So I'm on social media sharing what I've learned as well, which helps me to retain it and just become a better version of myself every day. Like you said, your neighbor said that if you could become 1% better, that's kind of what I'm trying to do, right? I'm always trying to grow and expand, because I believe if we stop growing, then we kind of regress, and kind of like a flower, you quit watering it, it wilts and dies. So
Yeah. Well, I think a key thing that you're really hitting on is you do this consistently. You have created good, consistent habits. You don't do it occasionally or when you feel like it. Like this has become who you are.
yeah. Yeah, I don't have to think about it. It just kind of happens now. In the beginning, it wasn't really that way, but that's okay. Like, again, start from where you're at and don't have such high expectations for yourself, and just know that, if you're committed to becoming someone different, it will happen, and it will just become a part of who you are.
Okay, so I know you're training. Was it the Denali 135 or 130?
Yeah, 135. Yep.
Okay, talk to me about that. Why? So that's 135 miles?
135 miles. Yeah.
Okay, that's wild because as you shared, I ran a marathon and that was enough. I'm like, I'm a one and done. I think that was plenty. So
Yeah.
how do you I talk to me about the mental aspect of it, obviously the physical, but 135 miles, that's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah. And, um, I would like, kind of like David Goggins. He inspires me for sure. And there's some other folks that are in that world. My coach that helps me train for this, she did the Badwater 135, but she did the quad. So she did it 4 times in a row. And so I'm just like, I'm inspired by all these people. And I know the benefits by pushing myself through these physical experiences. Like, it's not just physical, it spills into, like, it lifts my life up in all areas, because of the preparation that has to be done, the experiences that I have, the lessons that I learn. Like, it just thrusts me forward in all areas. And so that's why I do it. It is difficult, yes, but again, the more prepared you are, the less difficult it can be. But yeah, it's a majority of it is mindset. I would say it's probably 80% mental and 25% physical. Like, I mean, if you get the physical piece, no matter how prepared you are, like, it's going to hurt at some point. Your body is going to hurt at some point for sure. And do you have what it takes to just keep moving and just keep going? Because there's so many parallels to that in life, right? Like, there's so many times when we just, like, it hurts. You don't want to, but if you do, if you persevere, if you continue to push through, like, the rewards are that much greater on the other side. And so I love to live life and have experiences. And,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go to Alaska. I've never been to Alaska, so this might be my first time there, and I'm going to get to see a great part of it. I'm going to get to see a piece of it that I probably wouldn't ever see if I was, like, just in a car driving, right? I'm going to be on foot, running. So yeah.
Well, and maybe like you, for me, running is a moving meditation. And just like you said, yes, there are so many parallels to life. And I still run I've ran since I was a young girl. I'd be like, bye mom, gonna go for a run. And easily, like, I now like that 3 to 5 mile range just to go
Yeah.
out, get a little worked up, and then I'm good to go. But for me, it's that
Perfect.
when you're literally climbing up a hill and it's like, how strong are you? Do you quit and you want to walk it, or do you power through that hill to, like, my whole thing is every uphill, there's a downhill.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, and even for the person that, like, can't run the hill, right? Like, walk the hill, but don't quit, right? Just keep going and keep moving. And yeah, when you get to the top, and you get to kind of coast back down, and try not to run the hill before you get to the hill, right? I've done that before, where you see the big hill and then you start beating yourself up, like, oh, here comes the hill, I can't wait. You're like half a mile from the hill. It's like, enjoy the journey along the way, worry about the hill when you get to the hill. Like, so be present, right? That's a big thing for me, especially inside of running and endurance, ultra endurance.
That was so powerful for sure. I just blanked out. I had a question for you, but I wanted to ask. Yeah, do you have affirmations or mantras that you're repeat, like I am statements or something, when you're going through that long of distance?
I do use I am statements on a daily basis. We call it conscious self creation, but I, to be honest, I don't think I've used too many of those on my run. I am. I don't like to listen to much music either. Like, I kind of just like to be in my head, and just because we're so connected all the time to our phone. Like, my phone is always on me or nearby,
Yeah.
and it's just a great opportunity to unplug and disconnect. I will listen to music every now and then for a few hours maybe, but I do like to just kind of be with myself and my thoughts and the surroundings.
Do you
On
work through a lot of things when you're out hitting the pavement, totally present, just running?
Yeah, you have a lot of crazy thoughts and some really great thoughts too, and it's important to, a lot of times when I do have those, um, I will stop, because I usually do have my phone on me, and I will, put them in my notes or whatever. Otherwise I'll forget them, right? If I have some cool ideas. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of weird to know where the conversation's going, the kind of the conversation you have with yourself when you're out running, and yeah, I just kind of go with it and flow with it. So
Okay, then question for you. What is a key takeaway you want listeners to get from this conversation?
I would say like a lot of what we've been talking about, which is no matter where you have been up until this point, like just don't worry about that. You can use the failures or the wins in your life to help kind of to learn from and to help propel you forward, but don't allow it to define you. Like take a stand right now and just do the little things every day. Again, keep it small and simple. Make those deposits into your integrity bank and start to build up that balance. And just be your word to yourself first. And then as you do that, then you'll start to be able to be your word. And it's so powerful when you can do that to others. When you can tell someone you're going to do it and they just know, like they can cash, it's like they could take that check to the bank and cash it because they know it's done before it's already happened. Like when you get to that place in your life, so powerful. And so that just starts with little steps right here, right now.
I know also you have in-person retreats and then year-long coaching programs. So I'm curious to hear from you because I also believe a lot of it, I think I definitely heard it from Tony Robbins, 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. So, you can teach all the tools and strategies and techniques like we're sharing today, but without creating the belief and a foundation, is that what you teach in whether it's the coaching or you're in person?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really is. Um, I don't know. We can't kind of call them stories, right? We all have these different stories that kind of that 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 creates our world view or truths that we have,
Yeah.
and almost all of them usually are not true. And a lot of people don't realize that they could just create a new story that would actually serve them. And so yeah, a lot of that work that we do is around that and helping them through that and the mindset, showing them, like we'll take them onto the beaches and we'll work them out because there's so many things that they will learn about how much more they can actually do than they think they can.
Mm.
And it's showing them those lessons through the physical evolutions. Just like it's just blows their mind open to new possibilities that were always there for themselves, but they just couldn't see it. So we help them to see those things clearly.
Question for you on the negative narrative, because everybody experiences that. And most people, because I think that this quote is that we have somewhere between 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and most of them are repeats. You're not that creative. They're repeats from days before. And a lot of people get stuck, I call it monkey mind, or go down the rabbit hole of the negative narratives or their excuses and holding them back. But people get it is that pattern and the habit and stuck in it. So how do you get people to like eradicate those old stories and kind of, like I call it, pull weeds, plant new seeds? What is that process?
Yeah, well, we do have a process for that, and it's number one, it's just knowing that number one, a thought is not real, right? Like you cannot touch it, you can't grab it, you can't hold it. It's just a thought, right? So many people believe that they are so true
Mhm.
that it does become reality for them, and it's so getting them to see that thoughts are not real, but these thoughts combined together create stories that have them showing up a certain way. And so we just teach them that, hey, your thoughts aren't real, and then we get them to, through a process, to take a step back and to start to question the thoughts that they have. And if this thought over here that you've given so much truth to it might not be real, then why don't you just create a different thought and story that again isn't necessarily real, but it doesn't matter to you if it's going to serve what you want, right? Help them get clarity in what it is that they want and why it matters, and then create a narrative and a story around that will help them go do what's required to create that result.
I want to give a visual because this helped me years ago. I remember when I started meditating, and meditation, I think people think it's supposed to be this very peaceful, zen, quiet, no thoughts. That's when my to-do list and everything comes
Yeah.
pouring in. And then I get like stressed out and so my mom actually is the one that taught me, Heather, simply observe your thoughts, think of them as clouds and let them pass by. They're literally just, so thoughts they only have meaning that we attach to them. And I think what a
Yes.
lot of
Yep.
people do is they have a thought, I'm not enough, I'm not capable, that's too hard. But then they attach meaning and they become those thoughts. But you're right, thoughts have no meaning unless we give them.
Yeah, I don't know who said it, but a heard this multiple times. Like, we as humans are meaning making machines, right? We take
Mm.
that and we just attach meaning to everything. And many times, like, how many times has someone said something or texted something to you, you quickly attached the meaning to what they meant by that. And it
Yeah.
didn't mean, they didn't mean it that at all. Like, and so now it's totally out of context. And now you're like fighting with somebody that didn't mean, didn't even come close to meaning what you took it as, right?
That's what, man, texting is the worst. Talk about reading between the lines. Or
Yeah.
men, you are so good at this, to say, don't overthink, you're over analyzing. And women, I think, yes, we want to create emotion, and maybe we do over analyze or create something bigger than it is, but like, maybe be more compassionate to help us get through that, not that you're over analyzing, and stop overthinking. That doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that one, but yeah.
Okay, fair. Smart man. Okay, so what I would like to do is, to wrap up the interview, I have a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Great. Let's do it.
The first one, what is a quote or motto that you live by?
It's Teddy Roosevelt, Man in the Arena. I believe it was kind of a speech he gave in 1912. And so it's kind of a longer. It's not really a short quote, but have you heard of the Man in the Arena?
Started. I'm sure I have.
Okay. So, it's not the critic who counts. It's about the one who's in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, and it just goes on to talk about, like, whether you err, whether you fail, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your victories and your triumphs, and it doesn't matter your failures. Like, it's just going to happen. But it's just all about the person that's in the arena or is on the field. There's so many people that want to sit in the stands, drink popcorn or eat popcorn, drink Diet Cokes or beers, and tell everyone on the field how they're doing it wrong, right? Or that they should be living their life this way.
Mm.
But they're the ones that are in the field actually every single day, no matter what, just continuing to play, to be in the game. And so for me, it's just like, I want to be the man in the arena constantly. Like, I don't want to be sitting in the stands. So that's a big one for me.
Love that. What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
Gosh, lots of them. But Sacred Pace has been one that has been kind of a big one for me over the last year. There's another one that I had never heard of before, but it's been extremely powerful and impactful for me this year as well. Thick Face, Black Heart. So those are two great books that I've really gotten a lot of over the last year.
Final question for you. What advice would you give your younger self?
I think it's, be less selfish. Like, as a younger man, younger version, like, I think back to coming home from deployment and being extremely selfish, because I was gone, because I did put my life on hold for about 15 months. And while I was gone, you just kind of think about all the things you're missing out on, about what you're going to do when you get home. And in a way, it was a bit destructive and selfish. And so, yeah, I would just be like, hey, but I think some of those things you just got to learn through experience. I think we all kind of have those experiences to learn. But yeah, that would be one piece I'd probably say. Think about others a little bit more.
Fair enough. Great note to end on. Nate, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.